Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This channel is dedicated to exposing Watchtower lies, deception and cover-up. My name is Marcy and I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses for over 30 years. I served as a regular pioneer for 10 of those years. I was first contacted back in 1987 on the door-to-door ministry. And I finally left the organisation in 2022. In my last video, we talked about the extraordinary step taken by 3 French brothers, forming a judicial committee and summoning the governing body itself to answer for the advice it gave during the COVID-19 situation. The response to that video has been incredible. Many of you have shared your thoughts, your experiences and your insights in the comments below the video. But I've also seen a pattern that some are questioning whether these 3 men were really elders at the time the video was made. One person commented that they think that the brothers are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses altogether and that the whole thing is a mock-up. Another commenter said that they had heard that Brother Messi said in his own words that they were no longer elders. So today I want to dive deep into these lines of reasoning. What would it mean if they weren't elders? Would that invalidate the message? And more importantly, why are we even getting sidetracked by this when the real issues raised in the video remain unanswered? Let's get into it. So the first claim that we want to consider is this: were the 3 brothers genuine elders, or was the entire video staged by ex-Jehovah's Witnesses pretending to be elders? Now let's be clear. If this were a hoax by ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, it would be a disastrous move. Why would that be? Because it would completely undermine the complete credibility of the entire ex-Jehovah's Witness community. Think about it. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have been carefully documenting Watchtower policies, uncovering hidden histories, reporting on court cases and exposing the organisation's inconsistencies. And that work has earned trust. It's earned the trust of people searching for truth who are leaving the Watchtower. I have several people who I trust with the information. I've mentioned these people before. I'm going to mention them now. One of them is Christy Ann. Her videos bring the receipts. She shows you evidence. It can't be refuted. And she has had a really tough time because of expose work. So the information, the incredible work that she has done to bring to light the satanic links to the Watchtower, the demonic images in the publications, and she's exposed so many things. She is an absolute go-to and credible ex-Jehovah's Witness content creator. Another one is Jason Zelda. He's another one that I go to a lot. His videos bring the receipts. It's important when you are exposing someone, not just to talk about things, but to actually bring evidence. Evidence that can be looked at. Evidence that can be studied. Evidence that can't be refuted. Makes a person a credible researcher and an exposer of truth. Not just somebody who's sitting around discussing, issues that don't really have any weight. So, and finally, Winston with Watchtower examination. He's another one, brings the receipts, a very credible person. He's never been a Jehovah's Witness, but he brings evidence that cannot be refuted, and he's the person who first put up the video about the 3 French brothers. So people have worked, and I'm not just mentioning them, there is many others. Elaine Shapiro, there's plenty of others who bring out, and have worked for years to expose the Watchtower. So if a group of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses decided to fake a judicial committee and claim that they were elders, it would undo years of progress. In fact, it would hand the Watchtower Society a perfect weapon. They'd be able to say apostates are liars. They make things up, don't believe anything they say. And that's why I personally don't believe any serious ex-Jehovah's Witness activist would attempt something like this. It just doesn't fit, and the risks far outweigh any benefits. So, when trying to analyse any confusing situation or anything that has a criminal element to it, I used to work in the Crown Court system and quite often saw what led up to the court case. And the police and the Crown Prosecution Service would build a case around looking at who benefited from the crime. Quite often there is a beneficiary. If someone is murdered, they look at the family first, because they're usually the ones who would benefit. I'm not saying that's the way it always is, and quite often it's not the family. But no one is above suspicion, and everybody is looked at. So it is wise for us to use that same reasoning when we're looking at a confusing situation such as this video, and ask ourselves, who benefited? If ex-Jehovah's Witnesses staged this video, who would benefit? Well, it certainly wouldn't be the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. As I said, that would destroy credibility. So who would benefit? Well, that would be the sole beneficiary, would be the Watchtower Society itself. They alone would stand to gain if the video was proven to be fake. They could use this to discredit ex-Jehovah's Witnesses as a whole, and to warn active witnesses within the organisation against looking to these apostates outside. And this would serve to tighten their control on the organisation and those within it. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that the Watchtower Society is behind this, because I don't know. I'm just bringing out that we need to examine the evidence and look at all the factors. So, behind this, and if we're playing detective, then we need to be asking, who stands to gain? And the answer is obvious. That being said, let's consider another point. Some have said on my comments that Brother Messi himself admitted that they were no longer elders at the time of the video. So we need to look carefully at what he actually said. According to his own words, he said on the video that it took him a long time to find elders who were willing to take the action he felt was necessary, namely forming a judicial committee to call the governing body members as individuals to account for what they did during the COVID-19 pandemic. That suggests that, at least in his mind, these were elders. Whether they were current serving elders, recently removed, or that they'd resigned is a detail that is not clear, and I can't pass a comment on that. But here's the crucial point. If they were elders when the process actually began, and if they used the Watchtower's judicial system against the governing body, then the symbolic impact remains the same. Even if by the day of filming, the situation or the status had changed. So let's imagine then for a moment that these critics are right. Suppose the three brothers weren't elders at all, or at least not at the time of filming. What then? If that's the case, then yes, the Judicial Committee has no authority under the Watchtower system. It would be like me gathering three sisters together, holding a meeting, calling the governing body to account, and when they didn't answer, calling a meeting and declaring them to be disfellowshipped. Now, we could do that. It wouldn't have any weight or have any authority. But let's be honest. Does the governing body play by its own rules consistently? How many times have they rewritten their own policies, changed their own definitions, bent their own standards? The authority in the Watchtower is a slippery thing. So while the technical status of these brothers is interesting, it doesn't erase the symbolic challenge, because at the end of the day, this video has raised questions that the governing body does not want to answer. This brings me to what I think is the most important part of this discussion. The actual issues raised by the committee. I've raised this in the two videos that I made at first. Whether these men were elders, ex-elders, or simply ordinary members of the congregation, they have asked legitimate questions. Did the governing body check carefully the facts before promoting COVID-19 vaccinations to 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses? Did they realise that if the advice was wrong or harmful, they themselves would bear responsibility for spreading it? And if harm came to those brothers and sisters and any died, they would be blood guilty before Jehovah God. Were they then acting as spiritual shepherds or as medical advisors without accountability? Now, these are serious questions, questions that affect millions of Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide, questions that are remaining unanswered. And yet, here we are, caught up in debating whether the committee was real enough instead of demanding answers to the substance of the case. It's a classic distraction tactic. Focus on the messenger and not the message. The Watchtower Society has always played this distraction game whenever critics raise valid points. The society shifts the focus. It's always, don't listen to them, they're apostates. Don't trust them, they're bitter. Don't pay attention to them, they are liars. And now, with this judicial committee, the same tactics are at play. Instead of asking, did the governing body mislead millions about the vaccine? The conversation becomes, were these men really elders? That's a distraction, and it works because it takes us away from the uncomfortable truth. So, even if the Judicial Committee has no official standing, the very fact that this video exists has shaken people. Witnesses are talking, as I've said. Ex-witnesses are debating. The governing body is silent. And as I've said, and I'm going to say it again, that silence speaks volumes. If this is a hoax, and if these men were fakes, why not issue a simple clarification? Why not expose it, laugh it off, and discredit them instantly? But no, all we see is the deafening, deadly silence. And that silence is an answer. It makes people wonder. So, where does all this leave us? Here's my view. We shouldn't let ourselves get lost in the merry-go-round of whether these men were elders, ex-elders, or rank and file members of the congregation. Because in the end, the question of their status does not erase the question of accountability. The governing body gave advice that has harmed brothers and sisters. The consequences of the advice they gave has caused suffering and anxiety among many who did not want to take the controversial health product, but felt that they had to because they felt that they were disobeying Jehovah if they did not. In the Watchtower system, accountability flows downwards. Ordinary members get disfellowship for mistakes. Elders get removed for errors, but the governing body, they remain untouchable. As I've said, they have seated themselves on God's throne. That's the issue. That's the hypocrisy. And that's why what this video has brought to the surface, whether the brothers were real elders or not. So, my final points on this are these. If these men were truly elders, then their action is groundbreaking. If they were ex-elders, the symbolism still carries weight. And if they were just ordinary members of the congregation, then the committee has no authority, but the questions remain valid regardless. The Watchtower wants us distracted. They want us doubting the messengers so that we stop listening to the message. But I say to you, do not fall for this. The real issue isn't whether the brothers had proper authority. The real issue is the governing body's silence in the face of serious life and death questions. And as I've said earlier, silence, my friends, is an answer in itself. So, what do you think? Do you think they were elders? Do you think they were ex-elders? Do you think they were ex Jehovah's Witnesses and it's a fake video? Or do you think the Watchtower itself is behind all of this to discredit the ex Jehovah's Witness community? Let me know what you think in your comments below. I want to thank you for watching. I want to welcome all my new viewers and my new subscribers. And thank you for watching this video. If you found it valuable, please share this with those who you think may be interested. And until next time, let's stay awake. Let's keep questioning. Let's keep searching for the truth. And on that note, I am going to say bye.